Hello and welcome to the not Hitchhiker's Guide to Morrowind. What the hell am I oh god, just give me a minute, let me pull my head out my ass. Oh, there we go. Right, okay, what am I playing? I'm playing Final Fantasy. Right, I'm not actually playing it at the moment, okay? This is a farming run. And originally I was going to cut these out, because, well, it's boring. Basically, I thought I'd play through the story and do the farming and behind things. And then I thought, I had a great idea. I'm going to talk about something. Yeah. And what am I going to talk about? Sleep paralysis. Yeah, I know I can't do a scary voice. What are you going to do? Sleep paralysis. That's quite freaky, actually. Yeah. What is... If anybody doesn't know what sleep paralysis is, at its simplistic level, basically, it's many of you would have experienced this. Wake up in the middle of the night, you can't move. Okay, that's sleep paralysis. That's dead easy. Just let me sort this mic. Sorry. Angled wrong. Unfortunately, yeah, you wake up, you can't move. That's pretty much it. You wake up, you can't move. Sometimes it happens as you're going to sleep. Mine always happens when it's going to sleep. The long version of this, though, it gets quite terrifying. If it continues... You see, what happens is you're half awake and half asleep. So while your body's asleep, your brain's awake and conscious and trying to make sense of all these automatic functions that are going on. And it can get rather terrifying. I myself have actually suffered from sleep paralysis. Well, did suffer from sleep paralysis every other day, regularly. And I mean the scary type. I had it once when I was a kid, but I actually refer to the first time as a few years ago, because I didn't realise until after I realised what was going on and started researching it, I realised that's what happened when I was a kid. So I'll get back to the kiddie ones a bit later though, because I have some other interesting things, and yeah, we'll get some chats going about scary stuff. So, how did mine start? I remember perfectly. I remember the day perfectly, okay? First of all, I'd stayed up all night, within a crappy sleep pattern. I was going to write my sleep pattern. And I was supposed to go to bed early. And I didn't. I can't remember. I ended up helping somebody with something, but I remember going, oh, for fuck's sake, it's 3:30. 3:30 in the morning, stayed up all night the night before. Day before, rather. And it's now 3:30 the day after. It's just, no. So that is a big thing for sleep paralysis, is exhaustion. That was asking for it. Now, here's the scary thing, though. You see, if you ask most people, sleep paralysis generally lasts seconds to minutes maximum, which can feel like forever. Though, you know what it's like when you're asleep? When you're dreaming, you can have 1 minute dreaming. You know, you put your alarm on snooze, you get 5 minutes, and yet you've conquered the world in that 5 minutes. Or is that just me? Maybe. I don't know. And I'm fine. Yeah, normally it's really quick, but the thing is, I remember the time, just because of that one thing. Oh, for fuck's sake, it's that time. And the fact that day, my dad was going on holiday, and he set his alarm for 6:30, and 6:30, when I heard him walking across the landing, then I started snapping out of it. Very quickly, I might add, as well. 3:30 to 6:30. This is a 3-hour-long sleep paralysis attack. This is 3 hours of, quite literally, hell. I mean, it wasn't a non-stop thing. I kept drifting in and out of sleep during this, but I just wake up and it just happened again. So, yeah, that one night I was exhausted, and I remember how it happened because I'm one of those people who sleeps on my side. I'll get on my back, get a bit comfy, and then roll over. Which, interestingly enough, the rollover thing... When your body gets that urge to roll over, it's your body telling your mind or your mind telling your body, one or the other. Because, interestingly enough, they work independently when it comes to sleep. And of course it has to, because your brain, while you're awake, your brain tells you to breathe. And while you're asleep, your brain's off focusing all this other stuff and dealing with this and this and trying to process all this stuff while you're asleep. So what happens to your breathing? Your body takes over and everything becomes automatic. This is where the problems come in, because you wake up. You have no control over stuff. Oh, what it does, by the way, the theory is, it's a toxin which is released when you go to sleep to stop you acting out your dreams. Which kind of makes sense. If you think of sleepwalking, you're not getting enough of it. You get sleep paralysis, you got too much of it, or quite simply, it's dosed at the wrong time. You wake up and your brain's going, nah, and your body's going, what? So, yeah, that's basically what it is. So this one night, I lay down, went on my back, and I shit you not, the second my head hit the pillow, I just went, vroom. And this came on in weird stages. The first thing I noticed, it was like as soon as I closed my eyes, I got this weird, if you imagine a kid sat on your bed with a blanket over him. I've got a Doctor Who scene in my head, actually. If anybody's watching Doctor Who, you can probably think of the weird thing under the mattress. That. Another way to think of it, though, is also The Exorcist. Okay, that bit where she turns her head round. Now, it wasn't scary, but for some reason it reminded me of that bit where she turns her head round on the bed. Because what happened is this weird pile on the bed, which, interestingly enough, if you go towards lucid dreaming, this could have been me leaving my body, so to speak. But I kind of saw it, and it, like, twisted up to the ceiling, this pile. That's why it was just like, it wasn't anything in particular, it just kind of went whoop, and just sort of, in the split second, whoop, up to the ceiling, and it snapped me awake. It wasn't scary or anything, it was just weird. It was just like, oh, that's weird. I closed my eyes again, it did it again. I closed my eyes again, and it did it again, and I just, whoa. This time when I open my eyes, I just lay there like, this isn't a good feeling. This is like, has anybody woken up from a nightmare, and then you feel it coming back on, and you just know, and you stay there? It was that kind of feeling, even though it wasn't a scary image, it was not a nice feeling to go with it. So I thought, oh, I'm going to keep my eyes open. And that's when it started getting weird. Because I noticed this, I don't know how to explain it. Imagine like a mist or fog. Or imagine if you could visualise an aura or something like that. The only word I had at the time as well was liney. Even though it was like a mist thing, it had white lines in it, kind of defining it. Like pencil lines. Think of a squiggly pencil line, but white. And it was just like this ball of this thing, just in the corner of the room. It was just up there in the corner of the room. It was just, and I just remember just looking at it, just like, what the hell? My initial thoughts on this was, like when you stare at a lamp too long, and you get that kind of sunspot thing on your eye, I was thinking it must be something like that. And I kept watching it, I kept closing my eyes, I closed my eyes, opened them up again, and I could still see this thing. What I noticed though is, unlike the sunspots, they move, as you're moving, as you're looking around, they move with your vision, don't they? This thing wasn't. It's got very freaky. And I started to get this feeling that something, I don't know, something was wrong. Something wasn't normal. And it wasn't long before I realised whatever this thing up in the corner of the room was, it was moving on its own. I wasn't moving. I wasn't moving my eyes. It was moving on its own. And all of a sudden I got this weird feeling and this very scary feeling, just unknown. What the hell? And then I realised this thing was actually, it wasn't a thing, it wasn't just a something I was seeing, it was a I don't know what you'd call it though, but it was a thing, it was like a living thing. I don't know whether or not living's the right word for it, but it was an entity, it was actually there. And I watched it, and the funny thing is, I wasn't even aware for the longest time that I couldn't move, because this thing, I didn't want to move. I saw this thing and I was like, hang on a minute, what the hell? I don't know how to explain this, it's like trying to explain the unexplainable, because my brain was there going, this stuff doesn't happen, this isn't real, whatever that is, it isn't real, but there it is. How, it's like, try honestly imagining, say, a little grey alien just walking through your door now. Right, look at your door and try and physically imagine. You can't, because it's stupid, because it's not going to happen. And yet it happened to me, not the little green alien. And that was, and my body was just going, whoa, what the hell? And I just lay there, stood there? No, I just lay there, staring at this thing. And it was weird, it looked like it was looking for something. There's nothing up there. This is literally right up at the ceiling in the corner of the room. There's nothing up there, but it was like it was looking for something, and it was just, whilst being a bit freaky, it was kind of, oh, that's weird, interesting, Then I noticed it had, like, focal points. It didn't have a face. It wasn't, like eyes and a mouth, but it was a focal point. It's like, if that thing was going to look at me, that would be where it was looking at me from. I really don't know how to explain this. Like I said, this is just like a ball of liney fog. I do not have words for this. But this interest in it stopped when it seemingly turned round and caught me looking at it. and that interest was just replaced with dread. I don't know how to explain the feeling I got off it. Imagine catching a burglar in the act, and you've seen something you're not supposed to see, and now you have to be dealt with. That was the exact feeling I got off this thing, and that's when it became apparent that this really is something that is that crazy that it should not be seen, and yet it exists, and I've seen it. Oh dear. This thing without the eyes, it snapped round, and it just glared at me. I don't know how to explain this. It would not stop staring, and I would not move. I didn't want to move. I was just like, is it really looking? Has it noticed me? What the hell? I don't know how long I was there staring at this thing. But the whole time, of course, I'm falling asleep. I'm beyond exhausted at this point, and my eyes keep closing. And towards the end of all these incidences that happened on this night all seem to be separated into, like, phases. By the way, so if I refer to it as a phase, the end of the phase and the start of the phase, I mean this thing. So towards the end of this phase, what happened is as my eyes were closing, this thing was coming towards me. Now, I think I've got a good way to describe this, but I can't remember the film. Is it The Ring? Where she comes out of the TV and it kind of staticky things and she's just zoom and she's forward, like dead close up in front of you. That kind of thing. Except it wasn't jumping. I get this a lot, and a lot of people get this. They don't jump. They actually move. They like glide in this zoom. In a split second, they are bang in front of you. And what happened is every time my eyes started to close, this thing homed in on me. And every time it did that, I snapped my eyes back open. Now, I don't know how many times that happened, but eventually I fell asleep. And, well, I didn't fall asleep, my eyes closed properly, rather. This thing slammed into me. And I got a feeling of something that might be difficult to explain to people, because apparently nobody else hits the ground in the sleep. Has anybody fallen in the sleep? Yeah? Has anybody hit the ground? Apparently not. I seem to be the only person who actually hits the bloody ground, and I'm telling you, it's not a nice feeling. I need to look that one up, actually. There might be something else going on psychologically there. Why am I the only person who hits the ground? Probably the way to describe this is, I'm not spiritual, but just imagine the soul exists, okay? Imagine there's a soul, and your soul is taken away from your body, and somebody just comes along and just slams it back into your physical self. Okay, that's what it feels like. It is just like, poof. And I used to get it all the time when I was a kid, and I used to wake up winded, like I'd fallen over, like I'd just fallen 100 meters out of the sky, and, you know, and that's what happened when this thing finally, when my eyes actually fully closed, this thing banged into me. Phase 2. As if this phase wasn't terrifying enough. My original description of whatever the hell this was, I'm not a religious person, I said demon. Demon. That was the only word I had to describe this thing, demon. Thinking back on it though, it was actually more like, if you think about the old school gargoyles, you know, the ones that are, you know, they lean over the edge of the buildings, and they got the knees bent, usually down on one knee, and they proper lean over the edge of the building, and they're all kind of wrinkly, like almost like semi-melted faces. That's what this thing was like, and it was kneeling on my chest, one knee and a foot, and it was kneeling on my chest staring at me. And then I realised not only could I not move, but I couldn't breathe. This thing was suffocating me. It was crushing my chest. I could feel the weight of it. It was just okay, my boiler's making scary noises now. Don't do that, bastard. You just shut that up a minute. This thing was crushing. It was literally crushing me. I couldn't. It's like I was trying to breathe in. It was just like, well, you know what? Get your mum to sit on you. Okay, and then try breathing. Not sit on your face. Nobody start with. That's what she said. Going off there. Get somebody to sit on your chest sometime and try breathing, and you'll see what I mean. It's hard. And that's exactly what it felt like. Now at this point, bear in mind, the impossible is happening. What the hell was the thing in my room? What the hell is this? Why can't I'm gonna die? This, whatever this is real. It is there, and it is going to kill me. I remember for the longest time, all I could think about was trying to breathe, and I was really and and just irregular, just gasping for a breath at any chance I could. And the longer this went on, this thing was leaning into me, towards me. Okay, so it was on my chest and it was leaning towards my head. Towards the end of this stage, it was, I kid you not, it was nose to nose with me, looking directly in my eyes. And I don't even... You see what I mean about weird? This shit's not real, and yet that was real. That happened. At some point, I fell asleep, and then it got really bad. First of all, I saw this kind of shadow down at the bottom of the bed. Now, down at the bed, there's stairs going up into another room from that room. And it was like it was stood on the bottom step. And yet, interestingly enough, everything else that's just gone on and freaked me out, this thing wasn't a problem. This thing was, it had almost a nice feeling coming from it. I don't mean to sound soft or anything, but it was almost like if you imagine a guardian angel kind of feeling. This thing it felt like it was protecting me. Like whatever the hell's just gone on, that thing's there to make it not come back. And it was just a shadow. It was dark in the dark. It was a dark shadow in a dark room. Yeah, I can't deal with shadows anymore, by the way. I'm over 30 years old and I have to sleep with a light on. Yeah, not a big light. I'm not that pissy, but yeah, I do. I freak out sometimes. I wake up in the middle of the night and it's dark and I have these weird little finger movement things I do to check I'm awake, whether or not I'm awake or actually in a sleep paralysis attack. This has affected me that much. And this thing was just there for ages, and I fell asleep and I woke up and it was still there. I fell asleep and I woke up and it was still there. This went on for a while until I fell asleep and I woke up and it wasn't there. Now I start getting really freaked out, because there is something going on that is beyond what humans believe. This is beyond earthly stuff, and I have no idea what it is. I have no idea how to deal with it. I can't move. I can breathe a little better at this stage, thankfully. I think that's simply because I wasn't focusing on breathing. But whatever that thing was stopping all this weird crap from happening, and it had gone. And I started to get... Bastards. Oh, the boiler's doing that thing again. Stop it. We've got a new bathroom fitted, so all the bloody pipes are rattling at the moment. The whole house is echoing. Probably not the best day to talk about this. But I start hearing things that I can't really describe. I really don't have the words for it. First of all was like sort of, if you think games like Silent Hill, think of the ambient noises you get in there, you know, the moans and the grumbles and the kind of noises. The kind of noise that bloody boiler's making right now, and the pipes. Them kind of noises. Freaky, off-putting, things that really put shivers up my spine. And I started getting really panicky. I didn't like this. I didn't like this at all. And then I started hearing, like, I want to call them screams, but they weren't like, ah, like a person screaming. It was like a thing screaming, a real blood-curdling screams, noises, loud noises, and this vibration constantly in my ears, both of my ears just... I can really freak. I still can't move, and I'm really starting to freak out. I don't know how long that went on for, but for a while. I kid you not, again, remember, I am not a religious person, and for that, I don't know how long that went on for, but for that time, I actually believed I had died. I thought, oh crap, I'm wrong. I have died, and this is like afterlife or hell. It's like I died in my sleep, and at the time it made sense as well. All this weird crap that's happening, demons. It's like I've died in my sleep in my bed, and this is like what hell is. I'll like spend the rest of eternity with this weird shit just here. It's just ridiculous. It was just really, I thought, it's hard to imagine that somebody actually believed they had died. I can't, you know, I don't expect anybody to believe that. But I really did. It was terrifying. But then it got worse. All of phase 3, are we on now? We've had the ball. We've had the thing at the bottom of the bed, and we've had the... 4? Phase 4, sorry. I've lost count now. The next phase. And I start getting this serious. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was already... Sorry, I'm choking. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was already, you know, freaked out. But I started getting really, really terrified. It's just this wave of a feeling of dread. Okay, it wasn't like a feeling which I was experiencing. It was a feeling which was out there and being forced upon me. A very malevolent feeling. I don't know how to describe that. I have never, ever been so scared in my entire life. And this time, of all the weird stuff that's already happened, I couldn't even see anything. There was nothing happening. There were no noises. There's no shadows at the end of the bed. There's no bally fog thing up in the room. There's no demon crushing my chest. There was nothing except this feeling, and it came over like a wave, filling the entire room. And then I don't know how to explain this. Without seeing it, I knew there was something in the room with me. Something like the thing I'd seen earlier stood on the bottom of the steps, but it wasn't a nice one. It was like the complete opposites. Whatever that was there before was there to protect me. This thing was here to kill me. Dread like you would not believe. This went on for ages. And the really terrifying bit was, I didn't see it once. I knew it was in the room. It was as though it knew exactly what I could see. It knew where I could see. Absolutely perfectly. And it was constantly just out of my peripheral vision. But I knew it was there. No matter where I tried to, I've got basic eye movements here. That's it. And even they're a bit blurry because I've now not stopped crying for I don't know how long. So all I could do, cry and look. Barely breathe. And this thing was just playing about, okay? It was like, its intention was to kill me, but not just yet. It's gonna mess about a bit first, You're gonna have some fun. It likes scaring me. The only way I can imagine this is, imagine knowing you're going to be tortured. I don't know if that helps. I got that weird kind of feeling as well. And I really lost it when I felt this sort of creak on the bed. You think when somebody sits down next to you, your body shifts as well. If you're fully relaxed, you kind of lean into the crease, don't you? It leaves that crease. I got that. I got a double bed. And I got that right next to me. And that's when I realised whatever it was in the room was now lying on the bed next to me.